We want to be able to test the Worktribe eligibility overrides on an employee HCM record, and we want to be able to report on that correctly. There are probably 3 steps to this. One is go to the employee record, update the eligibility criteria for Worktribe from what they currently are to something new, submit that record to be processed, have a look within the transaction console and confirm that that process is complete, and then move over to OTBI and run a custom report to report on the new changes for Worktribe eligibility and ensure that that's been correctly updated. So let's go to the first step and inquire on our user and update the current Worktribe settings. So we'll inquire from person management search on our user and we'll drill down. I'll just go back to give the full steps for this navigation. So we want to go to, after logging in, My Client Groups, Person Management. From Person Management, type in the name of the person that you want, hit enter or click search, either way. Then drill down on the user you want to update. Check the current settings. So for MOPSI, the current settings for Worktribe in gestation is for person and appointment is yes, yes. So let's change that value. So let's go to edit and update. Update the action, for example, change working hours to bring this into edit mode from an employment point of view. We can now see fields have got drop downs, etc. So let's move down to our area for Worktribe ingestion, which we can see down below. So eligible for Worktribe import. Let's leave that for yes, and let's create an appointment as no. So we've gone from yes, yes to yes, no. So when we report on this, this is what we want to be able to see for this user. Person import should then be reflected as yes, and eligibility for Worktribe costs should be no. That's where we want to go to because we were yes, yes. So now let's save on that. We need to get into a position where we're submitted because we haven't fully changed this within the system. So we need to first review to have a look, which will then enable the submit button, which is currently grayed out to be active. And if we come down below for our Worktribe area, we can see the proposed to and from details that we wanted. So we can see from the EIT information for these extensive flex fields from a Worktribe point of view, we see the changes that are going to be made, which is eligible for Worktribe costs. It was a yes, and it's going to be no, and that will be from an assignment point of view. So happy that we're making these changes. We'll now submit that. So the process will be running in the background. Yes, we want to continue. And if I run the report straight away now, I may not get those reflected results because, as we were told, there's a request for submission for an ESS job running in the background. So we have to wait for that to complete. So some people wonder, how do I know when that's completed or not? So if we navigate to the transaction console within Fusion, we can have a look at individual transactions and see what their status is. So the way we do that is to go back home and we'll go all the way to the right hand side over to tools, and from tools, and this is useful in operational support in a post go live environment. We come to this area quite a lot. So tools, and if we navigate down, we'll go to transaction console because we're looking at this individual transaction, and I'm interested in looking at transactions for day, for example. So I don't want to see anything from the last 3 months. So my search criteria, maybe I don't want to look at all failed transactions. So that filter comes on by default, and kind of spoils your list. But by removing that, as you just simply click it away, it brings up the more recent transactions, and I can see the most recent one will be the one on the top, which I'm interested in. And I'll click on Mopsy Rabbit, and I can have a look at the diagnostic log. So I'll click down on the download link to view that and open it once it's been downloaded. And I can see here that for Mopsy Rabbit, and we did the change in working hours to put it into edit mode, where we then updated the Worktribe eligibility, and we can see that that is the status of completed. So where it said a bit earlier, when we click the submit button that a process is going to be run, we can now see that that is completed, which is great because then it allows us, so yeah, we click on submitted and then it was completed, and we can see it took a minute. The previous one to this took me 2 minutes, so it could be a minute or 2 minutes, but we just want to have that certainty and the confidence that it's completed, which will then enable me to then run the report, which should then show the reflection of Worktribe eligibility in the current status, which is now completed because that's job's done. So where I went from a no, from a yes to a no, that should now be reflected in the report. So if I now go back home, and what I'm interested in doing is running that standard report, a customized report in OTBI that I created earlier. If I go to Tools and now go to Reports and Analytics, because I want to go into the Oracle Transaction Business Intelligence OTBI area where we've created reports. And if I go on Browse Catalog, and this will show us where we've got various reports. Well, I've saved this to a favorite, so I'll make life easy. And I've called it a UTHCM Employee Worktribe Eligibility Report. So I'll click on that to open it up. And what I'm interested in is the first name and last name of employees. And I want to know the eligibility for their person and also assignment, which this report then shows. So that's run. So let's now have a look at the output for that. So we can go formatted data, Excel. And we'll now bring an output to this report. So it's just running there in the background, just takes a moment, and it's downloaded. Let's open it and let's bring that up and enable editing. And my user was Mopsy Rabbit, so I'm just going to stick a couple of filters on. And first name is Mopsy, so let's have a look for Mopsy. And Mopsy comes up. And right, so we have additional assignment information, yes, which was already there, and this is what we're interested in: additional assignment eligibility for Worktribe costs from an appointment point of view, and that is no. So that is correctly reflected in this report. And just to reconcile that back to our user, so I'll just quickly go back in. So we'll just come to the end of this reconciliation process for our report and our user eligibility for Worktribe. So within person management, if I now go to Mopsy to bring Mopsy back, what I'm interested in knowing is, did I get a yes and no for the eligibility criteria for Mopsy Rabbit for Worktribe? So this is Mopsy Rabbit in our environment. And when we scroll down, we can see the additional assignment information. I can see yes for Worktribe, bring me in, ingest me into Worktribe as a person, but don't bring my appointment across. No, it's correctly represented in our report in the last two columns, where we have yes and no for person import and for assignment import being yes and no as well. So this video correctly shows us the eligibility criteria within Worktribe being represented once a change is made on the employee HCM record, and the process is then completed, and we can verify that from the transaction console. So then to be able to report on it from OTBI correctly, and the correct eligibility status for assignment override is reported on correctly as per the change made in the original Fusion HCM employee record. So that concludes this video, and thank you for watching this reconciliation process.